party people! Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, where the gaming table is always set for two. I am your host as always, Jeff Stormer. This week I am joined by Dustin from the New Games Plus podcast for a game of Scarlet Heroes by Kevin Crawford. New Games Plus is a video game review podcast focused on revisiting the classics from years and years ago and deciding if there's still games that we would recommend 15 plus years later. Every week they select a video game at random, ranging from the very popular like Final Fantasy VII or Spyro the Dragon, to the very obscure like Defenders of Oasis and Cobra Triangle, and they talk about it, they see if it still holds up, how the mechanics have aged, and if it's still a game that you would play 15 years later. I was on a recent episode and we talked about Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which is maybe one of my favorite games of all time, and by the way, it does hold up. It's still real good. You should check that out. It's at soundcloud.com/ngppodcast. Before we dive in, though, a special thank you to Randy Lubin, our newest backer on Patreon. Randy, thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to me. You can find the Patreon at patreon.com/partyofonepodcast. Backers get access to cool bonus material, interviews, and mini podcasts. And Patreon dollars help support equipment fees, hosting costs, convention appearances, and more. All that can be found at patreon.com/partyofonepodcast. Oh hey, speaking of convention appearances, Gen Con's next week. Oh god, Gen Con's next week. Kidding. So I will be at Gen Con next weekend from Thursday to Sunday. I will have buttons, Party of One and Silhouette Zero buttons. I'm going to be repping a lot of two-player podcast love. If you see me, give me a shout, give me a tweet. We'll stop by, we'll grab a coffee, I'll give you some buttons. It's going to be a lot of fun. I really hope to see you there. And on that note, let's throw it over to me in the past so he can get started with the show. Take it past me.
Thanks, future me. This week I am sitting down with Dustin from New Game Plus. Dustin, thanks for coming on Party of One.
I am excited and incredibly nervous to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
I think it's going to be great. So, at the top of the show, why don't you tell everyone what New Game Plus is?
Sure. So I host a retro gaming podcast called New Game Plus, where I and two friends play a different old video game each and every week, and then we get together to talk about our experiences. Sometimes we absolutely hate the game, like maybe Primal Rage and Mario Teaches Typing, and sometimes we thoroughly enjoy the game, as we did with the game that you brought us just this last week.
Yes, it was Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes. That game rules.
And it's got Dan.
It's got Dan Hibiki, and so you can't go wrong. Like, any game with Dan Hibiki is going to be on my favorites list, just as a point of course. So, no, I really enjoy New Game Plus. I've been listening to it. I've found it to be a lot of fun. I think, I appreciate the structure that you put into it.
Yeah.
I think it makes it a lot more detailed than just, do we like it or not?
Right. Well, we absolutely loved having you on the show. You're an incredible guest, and I'm super excited to come and represent the guys in the podcast over here and hope to do it justice.
I think it's going to be a super, super fun game. We are playing Scarlet Heroes this week. It is a game that we've played before on the show. It is a game that I love very much. It is Dungeons & Dragons for a single epic player character. So why don't you go ahead and give us your character's backstory this week. Introduce us to our hero.
Absolutely. So I will be playing Ark. Ark is a young cleric in his early 20s. He grew up in a very devout religious family, which for his situation set him at odds with most relatives and friends, just because he went a little bit overboard, he just went deep into his religion. And when he was of age, Ark left home and just began traveling the world, seeking to care for the widow and the orphan, to protect and provide aid to the destitute and the broken, whether it was human or halfling or Shu. It didn't matter to him. It doesn't matter to him. He works to reach all of them. Ark is generally kind. He's morally upright. He's slow to anger, but if he is pushed past his limit or provoked to the point of feeling threatened, Ark will not hesitate to smite the enemy of his gods with his holy blade. And so he is really just a token of his church, of his religion, the Church of the Guardian of Light. And he works to rescue and provide aid and help for the people of all lands.
That's good stuff. That is good stuff. I'm very excited for this game. This is going to be fun. So, our story begins in the as You arrive by horse in the dead of night. You've been traveling for days. You are tired, thirsty, exhausted. Your clothes are sticky and they sting as they pull off of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're racing. You finally have arrived back in town, the town of Melodica. Melodica is a small picturesque community, sort of out of the way. It's along one of these large trade roads, so it's on a paved road, but it's a little bit out of the way. It's not really known for much of anything. You probably, looking at a map, wouldn't even really know it was there. It's one of those kinds of just, popped up on the road towns. But you've heard good things. You know that there's a Church of the Guardian of Light here. It's a decent town. It's a welcome respite for you. It's a safe haven for you, right?
Yeah.
It's somewhere you can relax for a few days. You come upon it, and the dawn is just starting to break on the other side of the horizon. You arrive, and from what you've heard, this is a welcoming, very friendly community. Think the town at the start of Beauty and the Beast, where
Good
it's
reference. Yes.
bread makers are popping out and offering people baguettes and things.
Bonjour.
At least that's what you thought.
Oh no.
You arrive, and it's sort of barren and empty. A few of the houses have been boarded up. It's just sort of a weirdly sort of ghost town of a scene. There's a few people walking around. They're kind of clutching their cloaks a little bit too closely to their chest and shuffling along. And everything just seems a little bit dismal. There's dust floating in the air. There's this slight stench of there's just this off sort of sour odor in the air. You're along this main road. There's buildings on both sides. You can see the town. You can see the town inn and the town saloon a few buildings up. There's a few people wandering around. You see the church, and it looks fine. A little bit darker than normal. You know what I mean? The lights aren't shining a bit quite as bright. And to the northwest, you know that there's a river. There's a dock where packages come and go. What do you do?
Well, town is not as I expected it, so surely there will be people gathered at the local saloon, and I mean that's where everybody goes for their information, right? So, So I think that's first where Ark is going to find himself, so that he can try to get a handle of what in the world is going on here.
You walk into the saloon. You walk along. The first thing you notice is a few of the people walking from building to building. One of them looks at you for half a second, kind of looks you over, and at first seems very looks at you, looks almost gives you a commiserative shrug, yeah, right. But then kind of looks you over again. Maybe sees the cut of some of your clothing in just the right light, and then stiffens up a little bit and shuffles off a little faster.
Right.
You get to the saloon, and there is a scene unfolding. There are 3 strapping young men, real rough and tumble types. Looks like they are threatening the bartender a little bit. Looks like they are obviously we don't have, you hear one of them say as you walk in, obviously we don't have the money to pay. Come on, you've been around here recently, just give us a drink. Let us wallow a little bit. And they start banging on the bar a little bit. Dunk, 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 dunk.
Yeah, sirs, please, leave this bartender alone. He surely hasn't done anything but but given you ale and given you drink for the evening. What's the problem, and how can we come to some kind of amicable solution here?
So one of them steps forward. The other two kind of hang back, and their hands start to drift towards their short swords at their side.
Sure they do.
They don't draw them yet. They just kind of linger.
I'm not looking for a fight, please. I just got into town. You can see that I've been riding for many, many hours, and we're all looking for some rest and some peace here tonight. So please, just tell me what's going on. Maybe I can even help solve the problem.
Why don't you give me a roll for that? We'll make this our first roll. Let me pull everything up. Yeah, make me a roll. So you're going to roll 2d8. You're going to roll 2 8-sided dice, add your most relevant attribute modifier and your most relevant trait. So for this is definitely going to be charisma.
Okay.
And,
so +2.
I'd probably call this righteous defender. I'd invoke your righteous defender skill. Or trait.
All right, rolled 13, +2 for charisma, and +2 for trait, righteous defender. 17.
All right. The two hold it, like, sort of cradling their short swords, kind of like calm down a little bit. The one in the front, his shoulder slumps, and he kind of says, "That's just the problem. They won't give us any beer. They know we don't have the money." But they're still insisting that they're a business, despite the fact that he throws his arm, and you see that, like, they're kind of the only ones in here. He says, they ain't exactly doing business for a business, so what's the harm in just giving us a drink? I mean, things are bad enough around here.
Yeah, I hear you say things are bad, and and just arriving here, I sense and see that what you're saying might be true. Do you care to expand just a little bit further? Why are things so bad here in Melodica? He
kind of sits at a stool and he says, "You really haven't heard? We've been, geez, okay, river dried up. We don't know what happened, but it's just gone."
Ark pulls up a stool and sits down beside this man, and the river dried up. That doesn't sound normal, nor does it sound good. How long ago did this take place?
Couple weeks, week or two, tops, maybe 3 weeks, I don't know. Time kind of ran together once we didn't have, like, ships coming in. Kind of lost track of time a little bit.
Yeah.
Just it'd be bad enough, the ship, everything drying up if everybody was helping out.
I would love to, if possible, encourage our friendly bartender, if he would, to pass out some beers to these 3 men. It's just 3 men. The river's dried up. I agree. Maybe they could even loosen up a little bit, talk, and we can. I can get maybe a little bit more if they've got a beer in their hands.
Make me another check. You're going to want to get I'm going to call it, say, a 13 or better. And 2D8. I'll say the same things. Yeah. Yep. With your, I don't think I'm going to give you Righteous Defender here.
Yeah. Definitely
so I think it might just be your Charisma.
Yeah. Well, that one does not work. We're just sitting at a 7.
Okay. Yeah. So, what ends up, you have a little bit of gold though. So if you want to buy them drinks, it'll be like 3 gold.
Yeah, so obviously I tried to talk the bartender in. He's not having it. So Ark takes a deep breath. It's not the first route that he wanted to go, but he is a man of the people, wants to help out anyone that is going through trouble. And so he reaches into his purse and pulls out a few coins and drops it in front of the bartender and says, 1 for each of these men, and I don't need anything for myself, thank you.
All right, so they start drinking and they loosen up a little bit, and as they start to loosen up, they start to get angry. Like, they're angry drunks. And they start, like, slamming their drinks down and being like, yeah, it'd be a lot easier if we were actually all in this together, but we're not all in this together, and that's the problem.
Yeah. Is there anyone that is trying to bring people together? Is there anyone that is in charge? Is there anyone that is leading some kind of cause to trying to get to the bottom of this and figure out where the water's gone, how to get the water back, and how this little town can continue to survive and not just fall apart at the seams?
And he leans forward and he says, do you know what the worst part is? The worst part is that the people in charge doing the exact opposite.
Who are these people that are in charge?
At that moment, there's another commotion happening outside. And the guy you've been speaking to just kind of gestures his hand and says, see for yourself.
And Ark does. He pushes up from his seat, leaves the men there, and opens the door to the saloon, looks out into the city streets.
There are 2 finely dressed officials in, like, church garb, guarding the light. And there's somebody on walking a cart, right? They've got a cart and a donkey, and they're walking them, and they have just cornered this person. They've cornered this old lady, and they start, like, jabbing at the bags of, like, grain on the cart.
Before he acts, because he sees his brothers there, so he wants to believe that what they're doing is good. After all, it's for the Guardian of Light, and so before any action and before getting himself involved, Ark would want to take a few steps forward. And I'm assuming there's a few other people that are gathering around and watching this, or is it just these few people there?
You see a few people in windows, like, kind of peering out, like, yeah. But they're a little bit afraid to come out, but they're definitely watching. Yeah. Eyes are on the situation.
If possible, Ark would want to move just close enough so that he could overhear any kind of conversation and or threats that might be going on in this corner.
As you move closer, you see 2 more of these church officials walking over from a distance, from the church itself. First note. The other thing is, as you move closer, you definitely overhear them, like, starting, and you see him start to, like, shake the cart a little bit and start to go for these bags of grain, and the old woman tries to, like, ward them off. And you start hearing them being like, everything is on ration. We don't have a river. We don't have income. Everyone needs to be rationing food, and it's looking like you're hoarding things. And the old lady's like, no, this is the harvest. Like, this is the harvest. We've worked all year for this. You can't just take it. And they're starting to, like, grab at the bags.
Okay. Yeah. Ark is definitely going to step in. Brothers, I know you don't know me, but as you can tell, I am too a guardian of the light, and have just arrived in town. See that you are experiencing a plight, and would like to do what I can to provide some assistance. Basically, Ark is trying to take their attention away from the poor lady, at least for a moment, and talk to his brothers here.
Sure, make me a roll for that. I'm going to say you want, because you're a member of the church, I'm going to put it at like an 11. And you can add whatever traits you want, or whatever trait you want, and your charisma.
Let's see, traits. I think Righteous Defender, we'd do that one more time.
Yeah, for sure.
Defending his intentions to defend that lady. So we've got a roll of 10 plus 2 for charisma, another 2, so that's 14 on the dot.
Okay, fabulous. You, they are kind of taken a bit aback. They're taken a bit aback when they see your church garb, right? They kind of, and they think when they see your church guard, they're gonna think that you're gonna be on their side because they think that you've heard what they're saying, and they kind of like assume, and then when you're not, they kind of like step back a little bit, and they're like, well, but, okay, look, and one of them steps forward and like puts on a smile, but it's kind of a fake smile. It's a little bit condescending. It says, "Look, friend, brother, you're not from around here. You don't really understand the scope of what's been happening and what we've been asked to do."
What you've been asked to do, that doesn't sound right. What have you been asked to do? Who have you been asked by?
Oh, we've been asked by the higher-ups of the church. I mean, we have to protect the entire town of Melodica. It's our duty to watch over this town. And with the river dried up, it is simply that... With the river dried up, it's simply desperate times have called for more desperate measures, and we've been rationing our food and water and, collecting goods into the church and distributing them as we see fairly. Like, that's what the situation calls for.
Yes, it sounds like you have been doing a lot of watching over the town, and that's all you've been doing, watching as the water has dried up, and it seems like there's been no solution. Multiple weeks now, I hear that the water's been gone, and there's been no solution, just temporary fixes. What's the long-term solution, and where did the water go?
And now the other two, there's four of them all standing around you now.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're kind of standing around you, and now the smile starts to fade and his chest puffs out a little bit, and he says, "We're working on the larger scale issues, but at the moment they're a bit of a gravity issue. Right now we have to take care of more pressing concerns, like how we feed our town. Once we get those immediate concerns sorted out, and he turns back to the lady, and once people stop hoarding, then we can figure out where the water went. Now, being that you are a member of the church, we'd love to have you help us. In fact, with the added manpower, we could maybe figure out where the water went. But first," and he turns back to the lady, and all of the other three all start to move, start to shift and move a little bit. "Now we deal with the immediate concerns."
Okay. So there are four men from the Church of Light that are here. They are pressing in on this poor old lady with her bag of rice. So I am obviously not going to be able to take these men out. That wouldn't even be my...
Well, not necessarily. You kind of get the you feel the light in you, right?
Yeah,
but you can tell that these are scrubs.
Yeah.
Fundamentally. You could probably take them in a fight if you needed to.
Well, the thing that angers me is that they are using the religion that I love and the faith and the church that I follow and that I've given my life to as what seems to be a front for their dubious activities. So that's okay. That's gonna fuel a fire within me, and and so Ark is, he's not looking for a fight, and it doesn't have to come to a fight, but he is going to place himself in between these four men and the lady.
So you position yourself in between these guys and this old woman. You stand in between, and I'm going to ask you for a roll with your Righteous Defender and Charisma. But and if you succeed at it, you can talk them out of a physical confrontation. If you don't, there's going to have to be a fight.
Right.
The roll is going to be difficult. It is going to require a 13 or better.
13 or better. 2d8.
2d8 plus your Charisma plus your Righteous Defender trait.
It's an 11.
All right. So the three of them, the old lady, the nice thing is that you've bought the old woman enough time to get moving. The cart is still here, but she's safe. You've gotten her safe. That's the important thing.
Right.
However, now there's four dudes, three of whom have cudgels and one of whom seems to be reaching for a knife.
Nice. I don't imagine I could be at this point, no, put that away.
No, I don't think. I think they've made their decision, and this is going to end all of one way.
Sure it is. All right. Well, as he's reaching for his knife, knowing that it's heading that direction, thankfully the woman has been able to escape. I'm gonna reach under my robe and swiftly bring out my holy short sword, and I'm just gonna enter the fray and try to take out as many as I can as quickly as I can.
All right. So the fight begins. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is roll your fray dice. A fray dice represents like minor blows in the conflict. Because remember how I said like you've got the light and you're the hero and they're not?
Right.
You have a certain degree of ability to just take people out. The way I described it earlier was it's like Nameless Ninja in a Jackie Chan movie. Like you're just going to knock them out.
Sure.
So roll me that d6.
4.
All right. Describe how you take out, kill, knock out, whatever you want to do. Describe how you take out one of them. One of the three. We'll say one of the guys with the clubs runs at you. What do you do?
Yeah. So Ark has brought out his holy short sword, and it's in his right hand. As the man with the club swings, Ark is able to dodge under that and evade around behind the man that had just swung. And because he is that man is off balance with his swing, Ark is able to bring his knife around and down into the shoulder of the man that just attacked. I don't think it's instantly killing him, but it is.
No, it takes him out of the fight though.
Yeah, definitely.
He definitely he's clutching the shoulder.
Oh yeah, he's down to his knees and he's not engaging in any more of the battle.
Right. Okay. So now, go ahead and make an attack roll. So that's going to be a 20-sided dice. That's going to be a d20 plus your attack modifier, which is 1, minus your strength, which is 1. So it's just going to be a flat d20.
Is strength 1 or is it -1?
-1.
Okay, yeah.
So you're going to roll flat d20. You want to get a 12 or better.
All right. Well, 4.
Okay. So what happens is the one with the knife starts like doing some knife combat at you, like throwing big swipes, and you're dodging out of the way. But it keeps you from being able to make a more decisive attack. Then the other two with club, now I'm gonna roll for their attack. Alright, one of them, the guy with the knife catches you. Take 1 damage as he, slashes across your chest, and, it's a shallow wound, but there's, a cut across your chest.
Yeah, down to 6.
And it is your turn again. So roll that d6 fray dice.
Alright, single d6 for 3.
Okay. Describe how you take out another one.
All right, so he's open. I've got an open wound now. It's relatively small, but it stings, which infuriates me all the more. And so as one man is down on his knees from the earlier stab, and the other has just attacked me. I think the one that attacked me, or no, I'm going to swing past the one that has attacked me to one of his friends, unexpectedly bringing the knife up into his gut, and then pulling it out as I'm with my free hand pushing his head down towards the ground so that he is incapacitated as well.
Fabulous. And now roll me an attack roll as you, actually, before you do that, I have to make a roll for the other two. So, the third one with the club, the third guy with the club, sees this, drops his club and bails. Turns tail and run.
Nice.
So make me an attack roll, so a d20. Against the final guy, the guy with the knife. He's a little bit stronger than the others, so you won't be able to use your fray dice anymore in this fight, since it's only the two of you.
Okay, so there's only me and one other guy left, correct?
Yeah, now the guy with the knife, the guy that was leading this whole thing.
All right, so D20, and it's just a wash with any modifiers, so a 12.
Okay, that does hit. So roll me your damage, which is D6.
4.
Okay, you you don't take him down, but describe to me how you mess him up.
Yeah, so last one standing there, and before I attack, I think I fling my knife so that any leftover blood, splatters against the cobblestone, and then aggressively charge this man. And I want to. So my aim is to incapacitate him, not kill him, but I would love to leave him alive since he's the final one for some kind of questioning. I want to get to the bottom of this, but in my attempt, I'm wanting to maim him, so I'm coming again at the gut, but a little off balance, and so it's more so at the side,
right?
That the blade is slicing through.
You get him with a real flesh wound along the side, like along the side of his torso, and he brings the knife. He tries to bring the knife to your throat as you do that, almost like trying to follow through on your momentum. And he doesn't quite get it, but he does slash along your cheek. He gets you that real good anime cut.
Yeah, a scar that is going to make me look really cool in a couple weeks.
Right, yeah. So take another damage for that, and then make your attack roll.
Oh, my health. All right, so I'm down to 5 HP, and my attack roll would be, is a D20?
D20, yeah.
Okay. 10.
All right. He stays in, this guy is more of a trained fighter than the others.
He is.
You're slashing, and he's ducking and weaving, and he's definitely playing off of your momentum, because he keeps catching you as you miss. So he drives the knife into your shoulder. Take 2 more damage.
Okay.
Keep rolling 19s is the thing on my attacks.
Really?
Yeah, this dude's not playing.
I'm going at least I saved the lady, but I'm going down. All right. Am I attacking again? Or can I attack again?
Yes. It is your attack.
Come on.
You want to get a 12 or better?
I hit a 20. Natural
Perfect.
20.
You take him down. you maim him. He goes down. You cut his hand off, Star Wars style.
Yes.
The hand just goes. And he is holding it, and he's gritting his teeth. He's not screaming in that real toxic masculinity way where he's I'm gonna grit through the pain.
Right.
But you can tell he's giving up the fight.
Right.
He kind of sits back, and he's just looking at his hand, and he's like, what do you want? Why would you do this to your own brethren?
I think you cut yourself out of the fold as soon as you began to mistreat those that were less fortunate than you. I came in, and this lady was in dire need, had done nothing wrong, and was being aggressed by you and your cronies. And so I was here as a servant of the Church of Light to stop exactly that. So you tell me, why are you here, and what are you doing?
As he starts to fade out, he's laughing. He says, "You don't even know the half of it." And he loses consciousness. He goes down.
Should have just cut off his head.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't have been a bad idea. He says, "You don't even know the half of it."
Oh.
And he goes down. People start clapping. They're pretty happy to see these church guys get messed up a little bit.
No.
You get the sense that this is not the first time that they have harassed people. The three toughs from the bar come out and lean on posts and kind of look at you and give you a knowing nod. And they gesture for you back in the saloon.
Yeah, and so definitely going to, first going to obviously bend down and use the handless man's robes to wipe off my knife before before resheathing, and then we'll follow those my friends back into the bar. I mean, after all, I did buy them some beer, so
yeah, they're friendly with you now. The one that you were speaking to earlier extends a hand. He says, "Name's Redgrave."
Redgrave. Well, obviously, take the hand and shake back. Redgrave, my name is Ark, and I would typically introduce myself as a member of the Church of Light, but I have a feeling that that's not going to be too accepted here.
He shakes and he says, "Pleasure to meet you," and he gestures you back inside the bar, and he leans forward and he says, "So, I gotta warn you, as a courtesy, you bought me a drink, let me get you something, a word of warning. That one that ran off is gonna go get help. Whatever your next plan is, whatever your end goal is, you're gonna want to do it quick, because there's gonna be a gang looking for you. And, like, I know that it's a church, but it's a gang. Like, so we can probably protect you a little bit, we can help out, we're friends, but..."
Yeah, so Redgrave?
Yeah.
Redgrave, has the church here always been more of a gang and less of a church?
They've never been great. But the last couple weeks since the river, they've been a whole lot worse. They've been a lot more confident. They always, collected donations and things, all that kind of stuff. But in the last few weeks, that kind of became less of a request and more of a demand. Almost like they wanted it to happen. I don't know. That sounds crazy, right? Like, it sounds crazy to want the river to go away, but gave them a lot more confidence to hurt people.
Yeah, it sounds quite unbelievable. Redgrave, would you and your friends be willing and be able, in whatever way that you deem necessary, to entertain these church members as and when they arrive? I would like to have a visit of myself to the church, but don't need all of these other church members around to slow down or stop my investigation.
Well, my friend, I think we can probably wrangle up something. And he takes a swig of beer, and he smashes the flagon to the ground. And the bartender's like, "Come on!" And he kind of nods, he gives a knowing smile. And the bartender's like, "Yeah, all right." And so they head out, and they just start smashing stuff up a little bit. They are just kind of being ruffians.
Sure,
just knocking stuff over, making sure to get the attention of anybody that might be coming this way.
Yeah.
Redgrave throws you a wink as they start causing a scene. So I will say you are free to head into the church if that's what you want to do. You can check out the river a little bit. If you're free, you're pretty much free because these guys are going to cause a distraction.
Wonderful. Well, I make a mental note that if I'm able to, I'd love to buy another beer for that man before I leave town.
You're probably also going to have to buy a new flagon.
Right. All right. So I think my goal here, obviously something's afoot, and there's parts of me through what's going on that's either leading me to believe that the local church here had its hand in the disappearing of the water, either that or that they are taking advantage of that for their own good and gain. Either way, I would like to figure out what's going on. And so I think my best bet would be, I'm not just going to walk through the front doors of the church, but I would like to find some sort of side, back, or cellar entrance that would allow me to get in unnoticed.
I'm going to ask for a roll for that. This is going to be a dexterity roll. You find a cellar door. So the roll is not to get into the church, but the roll is to get your way, sneak around and make sure you're unnoticed before you get to, you know that there's like a high priest's office or chamber, right?
Yeah.
So to find that without being spotted is going to take a roll of, I'll say 11.
Okay, and so that's going to be a 2d8.
Yeah.
And you're talking dexterity?
Yep.
Okay, and any traits?
I could see Wanderer.
Yeah, Wanderer, I could see that. Let me throw this out, and I know it might be gaming it just a little bit, but being that I am a student of religion, and all of these churches in each of the city, all of these parishes are similar in layout. There's some differences here and there aesthetically, but there's like you said, I know that there's a primary chamber. I know that there's a library. I know that there's certain things. Could I use student of religion to?
Well, I would 100% buy that. I think that's a fantastic justification for the trait. Yeah. So give me 2d8 plus 2.
All right. So that's 11.
Perfect. On the dot.
Wow.
So what happens is there's a few close calls, right? Like there's a few times where you hear people walking by and you have to like Metal Gear Solid it where you're like up against the wall, but then like they're hearing the commotion outside, so they're running out, and like at one point you feel like you're about to get caught when people are walking, and then the guy with the club bursts in. He's like, "Hey, we gotta get going," and everybody leaves.
Yeah.
You make it into the high priest's chamber. Old guy, you know, white hair, real nice side part. I'm thinking like I don't know the actor's name, so I can't quite go with the reference beyond the guy that played the Master in that one episode of Doctor Who before he turned into the young guy Master.
Nice.
We can even just go with like a guy that looks like he would be on Doctor Who. A Doctor Who looking dude.
Yes.
Is like filing through papers, and he kind of like looks up at you, and he's very confused because he doesn't recognize you.
Yeah. Well, I've been noticed, so I'm not trying to hide any longer. I step out of the shadow, and Father, I'm not from here, as you can tell. The name is Ark, and from the Church of Light, different town than yours. But I was passing by and couldn't help but notice that you don't have any water in your river.
And he, I'm going to ask for a roll in a moment, because what happens is he starts playing up the fragile old man a little bit.
Uh-huh.
He kind of like slouches over a little bit. He slunches over, he starts like shaking his hands as he's like, yes, we must, it is a tragedy. We don't know the cause, but it has been most unfortunate. Drastic measures have had to be taken. We are so happy to have some additional, manpower, so to speak. An additional agent of the faith that we might continue to protect our town in these dire times.
Yeah, so I would love to see if I could see right through that facade.
Yeah, make me a roll with a charisma. Yeah, I think I call that charisma. And, I might add student of religion to that as well.
Okay. So we've got a 12.
Okay. In fact, I'm also going to roll. We'll make this a proper opposed roll.
Let's roll it smaller, please.
Smaller would be good. Okay. You see right through it, but like you're not able to get any additional information out of him because I also rolled a 12.
Okay.
So like you know he's bluffing, but you don't know why.
Yeah. I'm still gonna call him out on that. Father, you don't have to put on a front or a pretense for me. I'm not going to buy that. I'm here to find out what's going on with the city and to provide the help and the aid that many people here in your town so desperately need. It looks like no one else is doing it. And so I'm here to get to the bottom of this and to provide some kind of help.
He drops the act as he leans forward and he says, "Look, I'm not lying to you when I say we don't know what caused it. I'm not. We don't have any idea. We could go upriver and find out, but frankly speaking, I'm not really interested in sending my boys to go investigate because," and he smiles and leans in a little bit, because frankly, we've got a pretty good deal at this point.
I see. Yeah. So, well, Father, or, I should stop calling you Father, because what it looks like to me is that that you and your boys, as you like to call them, are intruders and imposters, and the Church of Light does not stand for such things. I'd probably try to preemptively take this. What I don't want him doing is screaming for his boys. I know most of them are outside, taking care of the village, but I would like to try to, either knock him out. I would like to do something that would dampen his voice so that he is not able to call out and get help. I don't need to get into another fight again. I'm already wounded as it is.
I'm going to ask for a skill roll for that. I don't think I'm going to make it a full attack, because you can take him out no matter. He's going to go down. He's an old man.
Yeah. Not as fragile as you'd like to put on.
Yeah, so make me a skill roll. For this, I'd probably call it dexterity, because you're trying to be quick and quiet about it.
Yeah.
And if there's a trait you want to apply to it, go ahead.
Yeah, outside of Righteous Defender. Yeah, Righteous Defender.
I was thinking Righteous Defender I could justify. I could feel a justification for that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if nothing else, this is so. If there's one thing that Ark cares about more than the broke, the downtrodden, the sick and the lowly, it's that his church, the Church of Light, continues to cast out its help and its good name, and when that's tainted by these barbarians, by these thieves, whatever they are, then that's definitely something that's going to bring up some righteous indignation within this man. So yeah, we've got 12 then.
All right, yeah, that is a success. You punch him in the face. He goes down.
Yeah. So
do you say something quippy before you hit him?
Yeah, I definitely do. So I'm thinking something with. I mean, we're going with the name of the church is Church of the Light, right? So lights out, something along those lines, right?
Lights out is good. Lights out. You punch him in the face. Goes down.
Just punch this old man in the face.
Yeah. So the church is, you might have to send out a letter to get some other church officials that come out to Melodica, but the church is taken care of. There's still the issue of the water, though.
Right.
You know that something upstream is blocking, is taking the water.
Right. So. And just one step back. So after I punch this man, I apologize right away. Here's the thing: Ark is not. He doesn't just want to go around and flay everybody that comes his direction, but he is going to stand up for what is right, especially if he can protect those that are down. So definitely does that, and we've got to get some new people to come in. But I think Ark is going to make his way up the river if he's able to. And Jeff, this is completely on you. I would love it if you. I don't know if we can do this. I'd love it if Ark would be able to recruit those three bar fighters to be able to at least come with him and provide some kind of aid or support.
You try to you head out, but you look and now there's a fist fight happening.
Sure.
There's a 3-on-6 brawl, and your friends are capably handling it, but you get the sense if you were to try to recruit them, then you would have to deal with this mob.
Yeah. Well,
so I think you're on your own for the river.
Definitely. Can I not steal. I'd never steal. Could I borrow one of the horses that are affixed to the church and be able to get me up the river faster?
Of course. You're able. It's not really stealing. It's you're part of the church, and you've reclaimed. Sure. You've reclaimed this from those that were using the church to harm people. So yeah, it's not you take a horse, you grab a healing potion and recover the damage that you took in the previous fight, and you head upriver. The water or the ground is like dry and cracked. It is that like dried up riverbed. You're moving along it. You move about a mile. You go about a mile up the river, and then you see water. You see water. It's not on the ground, but you see water. An orb of it. Swirling in the air. An entire river's worth of water just swirling. Swirling and swirling. A huge, perfect, symmetrical orb. Like a perfectly dimensioned orb.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It is, in its own terrifying kind of way.
Sure, it shouldn't be there.
As you move closer, you step off of your horse, because the horse has stopped moving. The horse is not going any closer.
Yeah.
You hop off, you move a little closer, and I'm going to ask for a roll. Dexterity, probably add Wanderer, because this is sort of a survivalist type role. You get the sense that you might be seen by something. Roll to avoid that. Or, if you have another plan, but you think something might be taking notice of you.
Yeah, no, so I rolled a 2d8, got a 4, and even if I add Wanderer, that's a 5, so I think I'm going to be seen.
Alright. In a flash, from this orb of water, suddenly a bunch of it, like, crashes down, and the river, like, part of the river starts slightly flowing, and the water turns to mud, as 2 boulders are hurled at you with, like, supernatural force.
We're talking about the large boulders.
Yeah, about the size of, like, medicine balls, so pretty big. Okay. Not, like, crush you big. Right. 2 damage big.
Ouch. So straight away.
One of them hits you head on and just knocks you to the ground and take 2 damage.
Okay.
Suddenly the water begins, like, shifting and twisting, and there are rocks being lifted up, and you watch in time as the water and the river starts to take the shape of a winged woman, almost like a Valkyrie, like armor, shield, big wings.
Right.
You can make a roll. Actually, you don't even need to roll. This is something that you, as a student of religion, know. You are staring down a forest keeper. A spirit of immense power that embodies the wants and hungers and marvels of the forest.
Yeah.
It is quite literally the forest given flesh.
So, Jeff, being a cleric, I've got a spell that we selected pre-game called the Mean of Stern Wisdom, in which I can cast it once and appear much more impressive to those around him. So would that even work against a creature of this caliber?
Yes, I think it would, absolutely. Okay. You do it, and suddenly you stand. You climb to your feet, and you feel on equal ground with this. You feel on equal ground with her, right?
Nice.
She's staring you down, and suddenly you don't feel like you are staring down this marvelous being of the forest. You feel like you're staring down an equal. Like, that's the sort of power that the Mean of Stern Wisdom has given you. She stares at you for a long time, and the wind begins to howl. And as it whistles through the trees, you hear, "Did the High Father send you?" The High Father is the name for the High Priest, I should specify.
Yeah. Keeper, I'm here on behalf of the Church of the Light, the true Church of the Light. I mean no harm. I mean no foul. I'm coming not to attack or aggress, but to learn, and if possible, to serve a need.
She Make me a roll. You're going to add 2 to that for your mean of stern wisdom. You're going to add 2... actually, you don't actually need to make a roll because I realize the number you're going to need to beat is an 8. I didn't roll very well.
Well, that's good.
And you're going to get that automatically, so you're good. So this is what I mean by you're staring down an equal, is like the power that you have is just already getting through to her. You say that, and she stands, and the water is now swirling around the both of you. You're now both in this orb of river. And she points one finger at you. And sea breeze starts to enter in your nostrils. And you close your eyes, and suddenly you are watching scene after scene of petty cruelty. As this gang of corrupted stewards have hunted sport without conscience. They have litter, you get scenes of them littering and just being cruel to the forest, right?
Yeah.
And being cruel to the people in the town. And then you hear the wind howl again. If the Church of the Light remains within my forest, I shall take my river and sit and wait. I have an eternity. They have lifespans.
I think at this point, so the magic is still fueling Ark, but at the same time, I think from seeing those visions, he is emotionally moved. A tear has visibly escaped his eye, lips even quivering. Keeper, this is not the true Church of the Light. What you have seen, what you have witnessed, and what has been done against you has been done in the name of some other. Before coming here, I stopped that other. And now I am here to right what has been done wrong, and will stay here as head of this church until your forest has been reclaimed by you, and until these people have been treated once again the correct way.
Well, what happens is 2 things. One, you smell like sweets. You hear sweet things from where to be off of the riverbed, right? To be into the grass. And you see out of the corner of your eye, the horse just calmly trots off of the riverbed. The forest keeper smiles and says, I didn't want to harm her. She didn't need to be in the riverbed for this. And the water drops, flowing freely and violently downstream. It is a little bit chaotic as water's crashing and rocks are falling into place. It is just hurtling downstream. And you are thrown from a wave onto the banks near your horse. The river's flowing again. But, briefly, in a splash of water, you see her you see her face form one more time. And you hear that wind one last time. A deal is a deal, and I believe that a promise must be kept forever. We'll be seeing each other, and the river returns to normal. What do you do now?
I think it takes multiple minutes to regain composure. Water is obviously pouring from my head and out of my mouth, coughing up before I get some kind of control and composure. And then with one last look to the river, believing that the keeper can see me. I mimic her final words and say that a promise is a promise, and I get on my horse, trot slowly, I'm not in a rush, back to town. My goal, once arriving there, to help the townspeople clean up any of the gang that is left over, and then I don't know how far I go here, but then contact the church at large to send other representatives in, and I'm going to hold to my promise and attempt to lead this church and this city back to its full strength, making sure to once again buy some additional beer for these three men.
You actually get to town, and the fight's over. We get that great shot of Redgrave just giving that last punch to one of the guys.
Yeah.
He's now like holding him by the scruff of his shirt as you ride up. What do you say to them and to the crowd? A crowd has properly gathered. They're not just watching out of their windows because like they're actually there's an actual crowd here. What do you say to them? And what do you say to Redgrave, like, when you first arrive?
Yeah. I think I speak to, I do nod and recognize Redgrave and with a smile. I mean, this guy is quickly becoming more than just a saloon acquaintance, but quickly what could potentially be a long friendship. And still sitting on top of the horse, I speak loudly to the townspeople, everyone that's watching from the windows, everyone that's standing in the streets. What you have witnessed from the Church of the Light has been a complete bastardization of what we stand for, of what we believe. We are for the broken. We are for the poor. We are for the widow and the orphan. And that is what we will be from this day forward. I will lead this church and this city back to the greatness that it once was, and I will do so if you will accept, Redgrave. I will do so with your help. The water has returned, and the city is free of this gang.
The crowd starts running to the water. Redgrave gives one last punch to this guy, and like rips his tunic, so that he's just got the insignia of the Guardians of the Light. And he looks at it and he says, "Hey, don't expect me a Bible study, but I think I could get used to this kind of thing."
Yes.
And he extends a handshake. And we get that great great handshake shot. And that's game.
Beautiful.
That was really fun.
Hey, that was for me a great first experience at this, and a really good game and an incredible story, Jeff.
I thought it was really great. I was really happy with it. See, it was fun. I loved it. It was real good. Dustin, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been my pleasure completely.
So real quick, where can people find your work online?
Yeah, so you can check us out at ngppodcast.com. That stands for New Game Plus, ngppodcast.com. Or you could just simply search for New Game Plus on any of your podcast provider of your choice, and then follow us at NGP Podcast on Twitter, on Facebook, any social media. And we'd love for you to check out, especially the episode that we just did with Jeff. It's a great one. So just look up New Game Plus, find the Marvel vs. Capcom episode, and you can check out your host joining us on the show.
Awesome. I'm going to throw it over to me in the future. Wait, let me do that again. Thank you so much for coming on Party of One. This was amazing. This was a super fun game, and I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me.
Thanks, past me, and thanks again to Dustin for coming onto the show. That game was so much fun. I really loved it. Be sure to check out the New Games Plus podcast at soundcloud.com/ngppodcast and follow them on Twitter at ngppodcast. Then while you're on Twitter, you can follow this show at Party of One Pod, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Party of One Podcast, Or if you really enjoyed the show, consider giving us a nice iTunes review, social media shout-out, or word-of-mouth recommendation. All of those things help new listeners find the show, which helps us achieve bigger, better, and cooler things. If you'd like to hear more from me, consider checking out All My Fantasy Children, the podcast in which Aaron Quintano Saez and I take your listener prompts and turn them into beautiful, thriving, vibrant role-playing game characters. That can be found at allmyfantasychildren.libsyn.com. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, consider backing us on Patreon at patreon.com/partyofonepodcast. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, hope to see you at Gen Con next weekend. It's going to be great. At me, Facebook me, message me. We'll meet up. It's going to be awesome. Party of One is produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. All music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Megaran featuring the D&D Sluggers. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates coming onto the show, or you want to meet up at Gen Con and get a coffee and a soda or something, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. That's it for me. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. And party on.